Have you ever met someone who acts like they don't need anyone at all? Someone who seems untouchable, independent, like emotions just bounce off them? Maybe you've dated one. Maybe you are one. On the outside, it looks like they don't care. They walk away easily. They act cool when others would be upset. They protect themselves with distance. They act like emotions can't reach them. But here's what most people never understand. That whole act, that distance, those walls they build so high, it's not because they don't feel anything. It's because they feel everything too deeply. And that truth will change the way you see avoidant people forever. Because behind their silence, behind the running and the shutting down, there's something they'll never say out loud. They only ever truly connect, I mean deeply connect, with one rare kind of person. And if you've ever loved someone who seems emotionally avoidant, or if you are one yourself, this message is something you need to hear. It explains the moment everything changes, the moment when all that control starts to fade and something real begins to show. Most people never see that side of them. They only meet the mask, the guard, the version that keeps the world at a distance. But the ones who do get close enough, the ones who somehow reach beyond those walls, they hold a place in that person's heart that can never be replaced. So don't tune out. Stay with me, because by the time we're done, you'll see avoidance in a way you've never understood before. And if you've ever wondered whether your connection with someone like that was real, you'll finally have your answer. You see, one of the biggest lies people tell themselves is this: I don't need anyone. They say it like it's a medal of honor, a sign of strength, like needing love makes them weak. You see it a lot with avoidant people. They wear independence like a shield. They convince themselves they're fine on their own, that depending on others is dangerous, that connection is optional, and that keeping people away is safer than risking being hurt again. And if you've ever tried to love someone like that, you know how painful it can be. It feels like you can never quite reach them, no matter how much love you give. You could be sitting right beside them and still feel miles apart. They might talk to you, spend time with you, and yet you sense that part of them is locked away, unreachable. But here's what most people don't see: that independence they cling to so tightly isn't real strength. It's not true confidence. It's not that they don't need anyone. It's something they learn to survive. It's a safety mechanism they built when they were young, when needing people meant disappointment, when opening up meant pain, when love didn't feel safe. They learned that depending on someone could lead to heartbreak, and so they trained themselves not to depend at all. That habit doesn't just vanish as they grow older. It follows them quietly into adulthood. It shows up in their relationships, in how they argue, how they pull away, how they love. And even though they may repeat the same story, I'm fine alone, I don't need anyone, deep down they can't erase the truth of being human, because all of us, no matter our attachment style, avoidant, anxious, or secure, we're wired for closeness. We're built to connect. Human beings are social by nature, and when you strip away all the fears, all the old stories, and all the walls, even the most distant avoidant is still longing for connection. They just don't know how to admit it. Sometimes they don't even realize it themselves. Look closely at how avoidants behave. They act strong. They act calm. They know how to appear unbothered, but watch what happens when emotions get too intense. They shut down. When you talk about feelings, they change the subject. When you get closer, they suddenly pull away. When you try to talk about commitment, they need space. To most people, that looks like coldness or indifference. But that's not what it really is. If you look a little deeper, you'll see fear hiding underneath. It's not that they don't care. It's that they're terrified of being truly seen. Here's the irony that most people miss. They want love just as much as anyone else. They crave it. They yearn for it. But the moment they start to feel it, panic takes over. Because love demands vulnerability, and vulnerability brings risk. The risk of rejection, of loss, of disappointment, of being hurt all over again. So instead of leaning in, they run. They pull back. They build walls taller than before, and the world mistakes that for strength. From the outside, it looks like they're perfectly happy on their own, like they've mastered solitude, like they don't need a soul. But inside, deep inside, they're just as hungry for love as everyone else. That's why I call it a myth. This idea that avoidants are immune to connection, that they don't feel deeply, that they're too independent to love. It's simply not true. They want love desperately. They just don't know how to handle it when it arrives. And if you've ever gotten close to one, you've probably seen the contradiction with your own eyes. One moment, they open up. They share something real. They laugh, they soften, they let you see their heart. And just when you think you're finally connecting, they change, they freeze, they act distant. It's confusing. You start wondering, was any of that real? And the answer is yes. That warm moment, that laugh, that spark of connection, that was the real them. The coldness that followed isn't the truth. It's fear. It's their survival instinct coming back online. They don't pull away because they don't care. They pull away because caring terrifies them. Here's the deeper part. Avoidants spend their entire lives trying to escape this need for closeness. They run from it, they deny it, they bury it. But running doesn't erase it. It just hides it under the surface. And buried emotions don't disappear. They linger. They show up in other ways. In overworking, in distraction, in constant busyness, in chasing goals, in seeking validation through achievement instead of intimacy. They'll say they're fine being alone, but late at night when the noise fades, there's an emptiness they can't fill. The people who truly know them, the rare few who've gotten close, can sense that emptiness. They can feel the loneliness that the avoidant refuses to name. What's fascinating is that no matter how hard avoidants try to run from emotional connection, sometimes life gives them someone they can't easily shut out. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while they meet someone whose energy feels safe. Someone who doesn't push or chase, but just shows up, calm, steady, genuine. And that's when something changes. They don't even understand it themselves, but inside, something softens. For the first time in maybe years, they feel what it's like to bond. And that bond, because it's so rare, stays with them forever. They might not admit it, they might pretend it didn't mean much. But deep down, they never forget it. So when we talk about avoidants being lone wolves or emotionally detached, we're only talking about the surface. That's the story they tell themselves to survive. The deeper truth is that they want the same thing we all want: to be loved, to be understood, to feel safe in someone's presence. They just don't know how to let it happen without fear taking over. They've spent so long building their identity around self-reliance that opening up feels like breaking a rule they've lived by. And this is the part most people never see. The same independence that makes them seem unreachable is also what makes their eventual connection so powerful, because when someone who swore they'd never need anyone finally allows themselves to need even a little, it's life-changing. When someone who has spent years running finally stops and lets another person stay, that bond has meaning beyond words. It's stronger because it's hard-won. It's deeper because it took courage to let it exist. That kind of connection stays with them even if they deny it. It shapes them even if they never talk about it. And it defines them in quiet ways they can't put into sentences. So the next time you see someone pulling away, shutting down, acting cold or unreachable, remember, it's not because they don't need love. It's because they're terrified of it. It's not absence, it's fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being hurt, fear of being vulnerable enough to need. And when you understand that, When you stop seeing their distance as rejection and start recognizing it as protection, everything changes. You stop taking their withdrawal personally. You begin to see the scared child behind the adult mask. And maybe, just maybe, you learn to meet them with understanding instead of chasing, with patience instead of pressure. Because the truth is, avoidants don't need to be fixed. They need to feel safe enough to stay. They need to learn that closeness doesn't always mean pain, that love doesn't always end in loss, and that needing someone doesn't make them weak. It makes them human. And that's what every avoidant secretly wants to believe. It's not true independence, it's protection. They aren't built differently from everyone else. They've just learned to wear armor. And under that armor lies the same human truth we all share. The need for connection, the wish to be loved, and the desire to be seen and understood. They might hide that truth, they might fight it, but it never really disappears until they meet that one person who makes it feel safe to let their walls down. They'll keep acting like they don't need anyone, but deep inside they do, they always have, and they always will. The truth about avoidant people is that most of the world will never really see who they are. Others only get to meet the version of them that stays hidden behind emotional walls. You can spend months or even years with someone like this and still feel like a stranger in their world. It's confusing, frustrating, and it makes you question yourself. You start thinking, maybe you're not enough. Maybe you're doing something wrong. But what if I told you the problem isn't you? What if I told you avoidants don't hold people at a distance because others aren't worthy, but because in their minds, closeness equals danger? Yet, somewhere inside all that self-protection, there's always an exception. It's rare, but when it happens, it changes everything. Every avoidant, no matter how guarded or emotionally shut down, has the potential to meet someone who somehow slips through the cracks in their defenses. And it's not because that person chased harder, begged for love, or tried to earn their attention. In fact, those things make avoidance run even faster. The reason that one person breaks through is simple. They don't trigger the alarm system. They don't set off the panic. They don't back the avoidant into a corner. They create a completely different kind of experience. One that feels calm enough, safe enough, steady enough for the avoidant to stop running. Think of it like this. If someone has been burned before, they'll do anything to avoid the fire. But imagine that for the first time, they feel warmth without pain. Something deep inside them starts to shift. They realize heat doesn't always have to burn. That's what that rare person represents to an avoidant. It's not that they heal them overnight or break down every wall. It's that they show up in a way that doesn't scare them off. They bring peace without pressure, love without suffocation, honesty without chaos. And that mix, steady, calm, and real, feels completely new to the avoidant. It's what finally begins to melt their armor. Here's the irony. Most people who love an avoidant do the opposite of what actually works. They chase, they question, they ask for reassurance again and again, they beg for closeness. And it's understandable. If you're giving love, you want to feel it in return. But to an avoidant, that kind of behavior feels like a threat. It confirms their biggest fear, that intimacy is too much, too heavy, too unsafe. But this rare person doesn't fall into that cycle. They don't get trapped in the chase and withdraw dance. They stay grounded. They offer love, but they don't demand it back. They leave space without walking away. And for the first time, the avoidant doesn't feel trapped. This isn't about being passive either. It's not about ignoring the distance or pretending the coldness doesn't sting. It's about being real. That rare person simply says, "This is who I am. This is how I show up. I'm not going to chase you, but I'm not disappearing either." That balance between presence and boundaries creates something the avoidant has probably never felt before. And when that energy shows up, something remarkable starts to happen. The walls that once felt impossible to break start lowering. not all at once, but little by little. You see it in small moments first. Maybe they share a small detail about their day. Maybe they laugh more freely. Maybe they touch your hand and let it linger for just a second longer. These aren't random acts. These are signs of trust slowly being built, and if you're that rare person, you might not even notice how much you're changing them, because avoidants don't say it out loud. They don't announce, "I'm starting to trust you." But you'll feel it. You'll feel the quiet softening, the moments of warmth breaking through their cool exterior. Make no mistake, this isn't easy for them. Every instinct inside is screaming, "Pull back, don't do this." Because opening up is exactly what they've spent their whole lives avoiding. It feels terrifying, like handing someone the keys to their most fragile emotions, but they do it anyway. Not because they've stopped being avoidant, but because something about this person feels worth the risk. And that's why this kind of connection is rare. It doesn't happen with everyone. You can be kind, patient, loving, and still never reach that part of them. It's not about effort, it's about energy. It's about whether you carry the kind of calm that disarms their fears instead of feeding them. When that rare person shows up, the avoidant feels it. Maybe not consciously, maybe not in words, but deep down, they know. This one is different. At first, they might fight it. They'll test it. They'll pull close, then back away, then come close again. It's their way of asking, "Can I trust this? Will you still be here if I step away?" And when that rare person stays calm, not chasing, not retreating, just steady, the avoidant begins to believe safety is real. And once that realization hits, everything starts to shift. It doesn't mean they become perfect overnight. They still struggle. They still pull away sometimes. But something deep within them has changed. They've learned that they can let someone close without losing themselves. They've discovered that love doesn't always lead to chaos. They've realized connection doesn't have to hurt. And once that door opens, it never truly closes again. The bond, even if it's imperfect or messy, stays. It becomes part of them. The beauty of it all is that it's not about grand declarations or dramatic moments. It's about the quiet consistency of trust being built. It's about presence that doesn't push, love that doesn't trap, and honesty that doesn't hurt. When an avoidant meets that one person who brings this kind of balance, it changes them forever, because for the first time, they stop running. That's the transformation no one talks about. People assume avoidants are hopeless, that they'll always choose distance over closeness. But the truth is, they're just waiting for that one person who feels steady enough, kind enough, and safe enough to make them believe in connection again. When they meet that person and finally let them in, it's not a short-term thing. It's not just attraction or curiosity. It's the beginning of one of the deepest emotional bonds they'll ever experience. Their walls might look unbreakable. Their silence might feel endless. The distance might seem permanent. But the truth is, it only takes one person showing up differently for all of that to change. The fortress starts to fall, piece by piece. Because no matter how high they build those walls, even avoidants are searching for the one person who makes them stop running. When an avoidant finally bonds, it's never casual. It's not just another relationship or a passing phase. For them, it's everything. Because it's the very thing they've feared the most. When they finally choose it, it's permanent. They don't open that door over and over again. They don't give that kind of trust freely. You have to understand, avoidants build walls for survival. They perfect distance. They learn how to protect their heart by keeping people out. So when they finally lower those walls, it's not a small thing. It's a massive risk. It feels like handing over the most delicate part of themselves. But when they do, it's because they found someone who feels truly safe. That bond cuts deep. It stays with them. People think avoidants can easily walk away. And yes, they might leave physically, they might pull back or go silent. But emotionally, when they've bonded, they never really let go. They can't. That connection becomes part of them. No matter how far they go, how long the silence lasts, they still carry it. It's not about obsession. It's not about control. It's about permanence. Once an avoidant bonds for real, it rewires something inside them. It shapes how they understand closeness from then on. And here's what makes it powerful: that bond isn't built on attraction or convenience. It's built on safety. It's built on the peace they felt when they finally stopped running. That experience leaves a mark they can never forget. They can meet other people, start new relationships. But if you were the one who gave them that sense of safety, nothing after you will ever feel the same. They might try to recreate it, but they can't. Because it wasn't just about who you were, it was about how you showed up in a way that reached their deepest fears without awakening them. That doesn't happen twice. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime bonds. But don't confuse it. It doesn't mean everything becomes perfect. They may still struggle. They may still pull back now and then, because growth for them takes time. But if you've been that person who made them feel safe enough to stop hiding, you've left a mark that stays forever. They may still struggle with the urge to protect themselves. But beneath all of that, the bond exists. It doesn't disappear because of arguments. It doesn't fade with distance. It doesn't vanish when life gets tough. That connection is part of who they are now. And that's why, if you've ever been that person for an avoidant, you might feel confused when they push you away. You may ask yourself how they could retreat if the bond was real. You might wonder if any of it actually mattered. But here's the truth. You can't measure the strength of their bond by how they act in moments of fear. You have to see the bigger picture. Because even if they pull away, even if they hide, even if they tell themselves it wasn't real, they always return to that inner truth. It was real. It still is. It always will be. The rare person who forms a true bond with an avoidant becomes their point of reference. Every future connection is measured against that one bond that broke through the walls. Most people will never reach that depth, not because they're not good enough, but because the avoidant cannot recreate that kind of trust easily. It's not about replacing you. It's about the fact that once they've felt safety with someone, they can't pretend otherwise. They don't know that feeling anymore. That's why that bond endures for life. There's something almost sacred about it. Imagine spending a lifetime guarding yourself from love, avoiding vulnerability, keeping everyone at a distance. Then imagine meeting someone who changes everything for you forever. That's not just a relationship. That's a turning point in your whole life. Avoidants don't bond lightly, and when they do, it's permanent. Because it's not just about the other person. It's about them overcoming their walls to let someone in. That transformation can't be undone. If you've ever been that rare person, you might not even grasp what you've done. You may think you were just being yourself, that you didn't do anything extraordinary. But to them, you were the exception. You proved that intimacy doesn't always mean pain. Because of that, you hold a place in their life that no one else can take. Avoidants never truly forget. They may struggle to move on, even when they try. They may seem detached, but quietly, they carry that bond inside them for years. Once they've trusted someone enough to form a bond, it becomes part of them. It's no longer a choice. So if you've ever questioned whether you mattered, whether your connection with an avoidant was real, or whether it was all in your imagination, hear this clearly. It was real. It was deeper than you realized. It was permanent. They may never tell you in words. They may never show it in obvious ways. But inside, they know. They know you broke through the walls. They know you gave them safety, and they know that bond will last a lifetime. Most people don't understand this about avoidance. Their love doesn't look like anyone else's. It isn't loud. It isn't obvious. It isn't expressed in endless words or gestures. But when it is real, when they allow it, it's the deepest and most unshakable bond they'll ever form. It may not be visible on the surface, but it lives in them forever. Here's the part that's hardest for most people to accept. Most will never see this side of an avoidant. They'll never be the one to break through. They'll never hold that permanent place. And it's not because they aren't lovable or worthy. It's because avoidants simply don't allow most people close enough to earn that level of trust. That bond is the exception, not the rule. For most who interact with an avoidant, they remain distant, detached, and guarded. If you've loved an avoidant but never felt them open up, it can make you feel like you weren't enough. But the truth isn't about your worth, it's about their fear. Avoidants enter relationships half-closed. They expect disappointment. They believe depending on someone else is risky. So no matter how much love you pour in, most of the time, it doesn't land. It's like pouring water on stone. The surface gets wet, but nothing sinks in. Not because you weren't enough, but because the stone isn't porous. The avoidant has protected themselves for so long. It takes something extraordinary to break through. That's why most people never see the bonded side. They get the surface version, charming but distant, fun but avoidant, someone who seems invested but holds back. It's frustrating because you can sense something deeper. You feel it. But no matter how hard you try, you can't reach it. That leaves people doubting themselves, thinking maybe they weren't special. But it's not about being special. It's about safety. Safety is the key that opens the door for an avoidant. Most people respond to distance by pursuing, asking questions, trying harder. That closeness feels suffocating to an avoidant. It confirms every fear they have. Intimacy is pressure, closeness is dangerous, letting someone in costs independence. So they pull away further. Only a rare person makes it through, not because they're better, but because they respond differently. They don't chase, they don't pressure, they don't beg, they hold their ground. In doing so, they create the one environment an avoidant has never known, a place where connection doesn't mean losing themselves. That makes all the difference. Most people don't know how to stay steady without overgiving. They don't know how to remain present without pushing. They don't know how to hold boundaries without leaving completely. That's why the lifelong bond of an avoidant is so rare. It's like a lock and a key, millions of locks, but only one key fits. Until the avoidant meets that key, they remain closed. For most people who encounter an avoidant, the bond never forms. The avoidant may smile, connect on the surface, maybe even share intimacy temporarily, but the walls stay up. Those walls are exhausting for the other person. You give your heart to someone who never fully meets you, and it hurts. You question yourself, but their inability to bond isn't about your value. It's about the prison they built around themselves. If you were the rare person who broke through, it changes everything. Most people never see an avoidant laugh freely, share fears openly, or love without reservation. Most never feel that permanence. If you were the one who broke through, know this. It wasn't just another relationship. It was their once-in-a-lifetime bond. It was the moment their story about love shifted. That's why they'll never forget you. Even if they leave, even if they run, even if they try to replace you, it won't work. Most will only ever see the surface version. But you saw the real one. You held the bond they only give once. That's why you'll always have a place in their life no one else can touch. Avoidants struggle with this too. They know they can't bond easily. They know they've only let one person in fully. That scares them. It can make them feel broken, like maybe they can't love as easily as others. But they're not broken. They're cautious, wired to protect themselves. When they do bond, it's not fragile. It's indestructible. But because it's rare, most avoidants go their whole life without fully opening to more than one person. That's the tragedy. So many people love them and never get past the walls. So many leave thinking they failed. But when the bond happens, it's for life. So if you've loved an avoidant and never broke through, don't think it means you weren't enough. You were enough. They just couldn't let you in. And if you were the one who did break through, never underestimate it. Even if they didn't say it, even if they couldn't show it, you became the exception to every rule they lived by. That's something they'll carry forever. And to the avoidant listening, you're not broken. You're not incapable of love. You're not doomed to be alone. But stop hiding behind the myth of independence. Deep down, you crave connection like everyone else. The longer you pretend otherwise, the more you miss the most important thing in life: real, deep connection. Yes, it may only happen once, but if it does, if you let it, that one bond can change everything. That's why avoidants bond for life, with that one rare person who becomes their everything.